welcome to episode 257 of Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined by Matthew Figuera.
Just doing the usual, checking that all the things are ticked. We are recording. Volume's
Even me.
fine. You know,
Even me.
because you're using a new / old compressor to
Listen, I'm
eliminate
trying.
some echo.
I'm trying. You know, the best that could happen is the some of the room echo gets removed. The worst that could happen is the entire audio is fucked.
I think as long as there's not more echo, we should be fine.
Well, you know, that would be the worst case scenario, to be honest. You know,
yeah, you plug in your compressor and you accidentally add a whole lot of reverb.
Yeah. You know, I would actually take
casual.
losing all the audio over that, because that
Wow.
would suck.
I'm Alessandro. Drew.
Could you
Welcome
imagine? It's
to-
like a cave. Yeah.
It sounds like a boxing match. And on today's
Audacity actually has
event,
a setting for that where it's like you can remove the reverb or you can add reverb.
Why would you add reverb?
I have no idea. Honestly, no idea why you would choose
to do that. Yeah, no, that doesn't.
Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. But that's the thing we can do. So, you know, if it gets really bad, then I'll just give into it. You know, when they say like, if you can't beat them, join them. I'll just join the reverb.
Yeah, join the
And,
reverb people. Who are the reverb people?
The thing is, you'll never know because we record without all those effects. So
No,
you'll just listen to the podcast after the fact and be like, wow, this is
Whoa.
completely messed up.
this is what we've subjected people to for hundreds of episodes now. I had no idea. How did this happen?
I do like to listen to at least our shows in the car because that's usually where I consume all my other podcasts. So it's a good barometer on like, does ours from an audio standpoint sound similar, better? The answer is sort of close. Listen, a lot of other podcasts use a lot more expensive hardware, but I also think there is like some wizardry I'm missing in terms of like editing or something, because I've seen podcasts like Giant Bomb with guests who are using the most jank fucking audio setups and they still sound okay. And I'm like, how is this possible? How are they managing
Actual
this?
sorcery.
Yeah. So listen, I don't know. I've tried. I don't understand how half of this works.
You should just try harder.
I mean, you know, I probably should.
No,
Probably
you shouldn't. I'm sure you've tried everything. I have no doubt.
It was definitely a lot easier when we were recording in person than the audio was like.
Oh, crisp.
It was because your hair was there to absorb all my reverb.
Actually, yeah. So I asked you before, I was like, is my audio fine? You said yes, there's no echo. And we're like, oh, it's probably because, you know, there's a couch behind me and it dampened some of the sound. But the reality is, now we know. It's the hair.
Yeah.
Just absorbs.
You can talk directly at your monitor, but it's being absorbed by the hair before it's being absorbed by the microphone.
Hilarious.
Yeah, immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know this. I'm actually shouting to get the sound out and audible. You'll never know.
It's 100% probably that, because it was like I was saying, it's the same thing as your old place. You had the couch behind you, which had like the throw and all the pillows. And it is just deadening all that sound, whereas I've just got walls and wooden floors, and that's just not ideal.
It's just out there echoing forever.
It's like when you pick up the phone in the bathroom and everyone knows you're in the bathroom.
Hello?
It's true. It's so awkward. You just like you answer the phone and they're like, "Wait, are you in the bathroom right now?" You're like, "Yes." Like, "Can I call you back later?" It's like, "No, I can still take the call now. It's okay."
No.
Oh my God, no.
No, we can chat. I'm good.
That's not the background noise I want to be hearing. It's some people have full-on conversations. I've been in like I guess public bathrooms because they had like offices or whatever, and people are just sitting down having full-on business conversations. Like it's wild,
having
man.
a conversation in your own bathroom at home. Okay, fine,
yes,
whatever.
Agreed.
Having a conversation in a public bathroom in a cubicle while doing your business. No, I've been in those situations. I'm like, who is on the other end?
Absolutely, it's mind blowing to me. Honestly, I just can't. Yeah, The other thing is a complete inverse. It's when people are having conversations in a public space, but they've got their phone on like speaker.
Oh,
And I'm just like, but why?
so
Like, why?
that happens very often in London. Don't know why.
I assume on
People-
like the tube or something like that.
No, well, I've seen it on buses, but the funniest thing is, so right outside our window here, I don't know if you remember, there's like a BT box. With the
what?
brand BT, like the brand BT, like a Vodafone. BT's a brand, and it's just this huge box just on the sidewalk, and it's got free Wi-Fi, and you can make free calls from it. It's got USB. So we'll hear like shouting. We're like, oh, whoa, there's action going on the street. Are people fighting again or something? I need to look out, and it's somebody like at this booth shouting at it because maybe the sound's not good on the other end.
Oh my God.
Happened last night. But it was so funny because the guy kept shouting, "Meet me at the park." I said,
God
"Meet me,"
damn.
but like over and over again. And Lenska's
Man's
just like,
setting up a fight.
yeah, meet me at
Good
the park.
Lord.
We'll throw it on. And Lenska's just like, do you think he wants him to meet him at the park? Like, I don't know. I think, but it happens way more often than you think. Because I think who's gonna make public calls like at a random station on the side of the road, and it happens. Like,
Yeah.
so like,
Some people
once
are
a
way
week,
too
at least I
comfortable.
hear people shouting at that thing.
No, people are way too comfortable with that shit, and it's just like, it happens so often. Like you'll see someone walking, and they'll be shouting at someone on the other end. That person's on speaker. You're hearing their whole conversation. It happened the other day at work. Someone I work with was walking through the office with their phone on speaker, talking. I'm like,
See
are you
that?
fucking insane?
Yeah.
People do not even have their phones on a ringtone here, and you are just screaming at your phone while walking through the office.
Are they new?
Yes.
Like
They'll learn
here.
that lesson fast,
Yeah.
like 100%, because noise is a very particular thing in our office. It's a very open plan office, so like you can't be making a noise when there's a lot of people within very close earshot of you, like trying to work. So yeah,
Hilarious.
it's a real pet peeve of mine. Really annoys me.
I'm not a fan either.
Yeah. I don't even, if I get a phone call at work, I'll try find a room which I can lock myself in and have the conversation.
I'll leave the building.
Yeah, I won't sit at my desk and take the fucking call. Never mind. Put it on goddamn speaker and
I just
scream
don't
at
have it
it.
in me. I'm like, it's whether it's private or not, I'll out of like respect, I guess, or politeness to others, I will leave to not have that conversation. In public.
I do laugh because our office has a lot of we have a lot of like private rooms or like cubicles, but all of them are glass, so you can see when people are inside them, whatever.
Yeah.
Some of them, majority of them, are quite well sound insulated, but some aren't.
Nice.
So people go into there and they continue like a conversation or a phone or like a conversation between two people, which is, I assume, meant to be private because they went into the room, but it is so easy to hear them. And
Nice.
I don't think a lot of people realize that, and it's very awkward. Yeah, it's quite funny.
Like, that
Funny
Alessandro
to
guy.
me as an eavesdropper. Yeah. Me as a chronic, I need to know everything person. Very
You and
funny.
Lenska, same person. I swear.
You know who's worse than me is Shani. Like, I think Shani and Lenska on the same level. Like, Shani will literally... She's not here, so I can say this. I will be in the lounge watching TV, and I'll get a call from my mom, and she'll be in, like, her room watching TV, and I know she's watching TV because I can hear it.
But she'll
And I will answer the phone, and she'll pause. And then I'll finish the call, and there'll be, like, a 2-second delay, and she'll start it. And I'm like, were you listening? She's like... Yeah, I was just interested what you were talking about. I'm like, no. You're 100% eavesdropping.
Not even subtle about it. No, we'll be at dinner, okay, and we'll have people sitting next to us, and then Lenska will just go quiet, or I'll be talking just 100% not focused on me. I'm like, and I know now, I'm like, are you listening to this conversation? Like, aren't you? Like, no, I'm having a conversation with you.
Okay, I'm very much like Lenska then, because
I
I will
don't know.
have conversations with people
depends.
and listen to other ones
If it's
completely.
some juicy conversation, eventually I'm like, yeah, like, let's just listen in on this. But it just there are times where I know the people are talking about nothing, like their work day or traffic, and Lenska's out there like, I'm like, why are you listening to their conversation? Like it's A, it's not for you to hear, and B, like I know it's a public space, but A, it's not for you to hear, B, who cares what that person says?
I could imagine me knowing Lenska that if she like observed someone who was very clearly listening to yours and hers conversation, 100%. She would take great offense to that.
Down. Why are you listening to our conversation? Why are you listening to our conversation? It's rude.
Yeah, how dare you eavesdrop? It's very rude. Also, I hope you have a better day. It sounded like your day was really shit. Wait, what do you mean?
It's so I just know because there's just a specific look. I just know she like zones out, and I'm like, okay.
She's like looking at you, but if you
not
asked her what you
me,
said in the past 10
just
seconds.
Like this dead stare, like,
Because it takes so much focus to listen to like
yeah.
definitely audio that's not directed at you. So you got to really listen. There's no way you're going to listen to two people like that. No. So I understand.
100%.
I can respect it. I can respect it.
It is hilarious though.
It is very funny to me. I think
goodness.
that's really funny.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you know what else is hilarious, but I couldn't really work that in. Actually, yeah. What is hilarious is that we've been playing lots of video games because this is a video game podcast. Hey, let's go. But I think you're having a hilarity-filled time playing. We are going with this one first, right? Dead Rising Remastered.
For a second, I was
Dead
like,
Rising
Dead Space.
Deluxe Remastered. Is it?
DRDR? Yeah. A weird acronym.
Imagine they should have somehow made it DDR. Dead Deluxe Rising.
My God. But yeah, so I am playing Dead Rising.
Oh, Frank
Deluxe
is thick. Holy
Remastered.
shit.
Yeah, look, he's just doing some weights with one arm.
That guy's as wide as I am tall.
100%. So this remaster, okay, for fans who played the original, no doubt. Hardcore fans. Good friend Jeff played this game, loved it.
Very hardcore fan.
Loved the original. I never played the original. I've never played Dead Rising. And it's because it's one of those franchises that lived on the Xbox. I think it was a 360. I didn't own an Xbox 360, so I could never play it. Always curious about these games, so huzzah, I can finally see why it is such a beloved franchise. And let me tell you, I was not prepared for this franchise. Okay? I knew, I mean, having seen gameplay of, of the games through the ages of all the weapons you can use, I always knew tonally it was wild, like wacky, and realism is not at the forefront of these developers' minds when they made this game. I did not expect it to be as wacky as it is, though, in the sense that there are things to do, there are bosses to fight, and they're just insane cutscenes that happen. I mean, you're going to see one now on the footage I've got here, but it's good fun. Like I'm having an absolute blast. And if you don't know what Dead Rising is, so it is an action zombie game, I guess. I don't know how else you would describe it. There's very little survival horror going on here. It's really just the premise is that you are a journalist called Frank West who enters a small town in Colorado, and you land on a mall to investigate this mysterious zombie outbreak. While you're there, though, you're going to take pictures, help survivors, and all sorts of zombie trope things, whatever. And it's silly because the game is set in a mall, right? And you've got your base of operations, I guess, is like the security safe room, whatever. And you need to go out and do, for lack of a better description, quests. Follow leads or save people that you hear about. You've got one of the side characters has eyes on the monitors or the camera system of the mall, and will tell you like, oh, I saw a lady in this jewelry store. Go investigate. And that's quite a cool way for you to get quests, I guess, or missions. And just doing them is hilarious. But I think what's so interesting about this game is that there's a persistent time mechanic where time passes. You can't really you can pause, but you can't really pause. You need to do things. Like for example, you know you're going to be somewhere at 2:00, whatever, and maybe it's on the other side of the mall, so you've got a plan to get there by a certain time or leave early or whatever. But what's interesting is that it also adds this interesting, somewhat, I guess, stressful for you. I know Mick said he's not a fan of this game because, the fact that time is real, like, sorry, I use the term real, the fact that time passes in real time and you can miss saving a survivor or something can be quite stressful. But it adds this interesting dynamic to the game where it's like, okay, I've got 4 markers on the map and I know the one's going to expire in an hour. But then there's another one that expires in an hour as well. So on the other side of them all, like, which one do I go to first? Like, it's not that extreme, but it does make you think, shit, like, how do I plan to do what I want to do?
Yes. But is there like a daily thing you need to do? Like,
no,
because I assume days pass, right?
So my understanding, again, I'm new to this franchise, and the basic, the core game, like I assume you unlock others or there are different modes, whatever. But the one you play first is called 72 hours, so it's 3 days, okay. And from my understanding, 1 day is equivalent to like 2.5 hours of gameplay of real time. Sorry.
Okay.
So yeah, essentially that means like the core campaign is 6 to 8 hours, I guess. And what's interesting is that I think it is built on replayability, because I've missed survivors, I've lost survivors doing, like, as a dumb example, I walked into like a sports store and there were 2 survivors, like a man and a woman, and they were partners, and the man was injured, like terribly injured, and the woman is like, oh my god, he's gonna die. And Frank's like, I can help you guys, whatever, and the man's like, no, just leave me. She's not going to go with you to the safe room unless I'm out the picture, like she just won't leave me here, so like, bring me a gun.
Okay.
So I brought him a gun and he shot himself.
Okay.
And she refused to leave, so I was like, okay, like, clearly I was supposed to do something else that I have to figure out, like, maybe there's something else I can give him. So that's something to keep in mind for like another playthrough. This game is built around that. I mean, another good example is you walk into a bookstore and there's a pair of Japanese tourists that don't speak English. So it's like, how do I get these people to come with me? And you look around the bookstore like, oh, there's a book on basic Japanese translation. You have to pick up that item before you can talk to them. And the game's structured in this way that there are a lot of survivors in certain places. Some of them are pretty obvious, like you just talk to them, hey, I've got a safe room, follow me. But there are others where they're like almost mini puzzles of like, well, how do I convince this person to come with me? And that's really cool.
So is the ultimate goal saving people?
No. So I think the benefit to saving people is that you get experience. So there's like a leveling system that happens. And it's funny because this is a product of its time where you can't like spec your character. Okay, you just level up and you get given. It's like, okay, now you've got more health. Okay, you've unlocked this ability, whatever. But the incentive to save people is to, the incentive to save random people is to get experience, from what I understand. But in terms of core story, you're there trying to figure out what happened. Why has the zombie outbreak occurred? And, there's obviously people, well, obviously I say this, but there are people at this mall that know what's going on. And you're trying to figure out, well, no, was it a government thing? Like, was an experiment gone wrong? And you save people or talk to people or do missions trying to, that lead you to this answer, I presume. And I think on the flip side is like, if you don't follow those missions, like, you won't figure out what happened, and then you quote unquote fail the game, I guess. You just leave after 3 days, and that's that. But it's quite,
so there is like a fail state, is what I mean.
I imagine there is, because even the main quest, it'll say like, okay, this mission will start at 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon or whatever. And it's like, I wonder what happens if I miss that. Like, do I just fail? Like, what happens to the actual story? I haven't tried that yet. But it is quite cool, because then as I'm learning the more and stuff, I'm really thinking like, well, I'll do another playthrough and now know how to get to this person faster, or maybe I'll tackle it in a different order or whatever. So yeah.
Okay.
You've played Dead, right? Have you played the second one?
So yeah, that's what I'm trying to like compare in my head. Is like I've never played the first one, but I played the second one, and in that one, like the time mechanic was still a big thing.
Yeah.
But you had to. So the core conceit in the second one is you are. I can't remember. You are this guy, and there's a girl that you're trying to keep alive, and I can't remember if she's like your daughter or something like that. But essentially, she's been like bitten, and every day you have to give her like a dose of this antidote to like keep her at bay from turning.
Okay.
So you have a day to like muck around in and complete objectives, but you always have to keep in mind that you need to be back at the safe house at a particular time with an antidote. Like you need to find one every single day. And sometimes that means you have to fight a boss that day or complete a certain like string of missions that day to get one as a reward or find one. So there was always this thing of like, if you don't complete this day, you get a little cutscene of her like turning into a zombie and you have to restart that day.
Yeah.
So this sounds like very different in that you've got 3 days and at the end of the 3 days you leave. So I was like, is there a fail state? Is there like, have you wasted the 3 days? But it sounds like you just, at the end of the 3 days, you've done what you've done and then you go back in and see if you can do more.
I don't know.
By what I understand,
I haven't played far enough to see that.
Okay.
But it's an interesting structure because I mean this game came out in I think is it 2004? Is it that long ago or 2007?
I will quickly check for you.
Maybe it's 2007. It's a very like look the game
2006.
2000. Okay, I was kind of close.
That means it's 18 years old this year.
Fuck, that is.
Yeah. Wild. It can drink.
So there are when I was chatting to Jeff because he said there's a lot of quality of life things and I was like what? And then when he listed them out, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So for example, the fact that there's a quest marker that you can see on the map there, like that didn't exist before, and I can't imagine having to. I suppose it would be more immersive, but having to pull open my map every few seconds to figure out where the hell I'm going would be quite annoying. There's a few things like that have been improved, 100%, but then there are still things in this game that are very dated. Like he says, the AI has been improved, and I'm sure it has, but there are still times when the AI is just like horrific. But I think the most frustrating thing, but again, this is just a me thing, I'm still wrapping my head around the game, is that the zombies just respawn.
Yes.
Which is fine. Like I understand for gameplay purposes, like it wouldn't make sense for you to clear one part of the board, then it's always clear to go through. Like I guess it would make it boring. But I'm talking like, I walk into a room, I clear the zombies and I go, oh shit, like the survivor that was with me wasn't close enough. I left them outside. I have to go out to get them, come back into the room. Leave the room for a second, come back in, those zombies have respawned. I'm like, I've just cleared this. And then like the path to the safe room, you always have to go up an elevator and or down this elevator, and then it's always full of zombies every time. It's like it's weird because it's funny because the game's not, it's like immersive but not at all immersive. So it's like you'd think, I thought like, oh shit, you got to probably clear the elevator before you can go down it. You don't. You just, as long as you can get that button and push it, it'll trigger the load screen and you go up or down the elevator. So it's just like weird data things like that. But I suppose it adds to the charm of the game. It's designed that way, and it's not meant to be serious. Like you've watched the footage, you've seen me fight a dude in a grocery store. Now I'm in I guess like a hardware store fighting like another random psychopath.
I mean, I just watched Frank West raw dog a couple of baguettes to
100%
replenish his health. It's great. That's how I eat baguettes as well.
Same.
Yeah.
Just scoff them and that's that.
No toppings, no nothing. Just fucking whole baguette in my mouth.
Oh my gosh, just smash it. I mean, but look, I don't mean to be hard on this game. I'm actually really, really enjoying it. It's as silly as it is and as much jank as it has. as wide as these people are with their shoulders, I'm there having a good time. And you learn the language of the game. You because I think all these years, me seeing footage, going like, oh man, the idea of having to survive zombies in a mall, like, whoa, what a premise! It must be so difficult. You learn like you can just run past so many zombies, and by design, I think that is the like a balancing thing where, you know, the odd one will reach out and grab you, but otherwise you can just run past most of them. And
Yeah.
I didn't even touch on this, because you're in a mall. There are so many different stores. There are so many different items, and you can pick up not every one of them, but you can pick up a lot of different things to dispatch these zombies. So, like,
because this is predominantly like a melee game. Like, I
it's
know
a melee game. Yeah,
you've got a gun, but it's like make do with all the weird and wacky shit you have around you to fight. Essentially,
can I tell you? So I'm sure there will be other weapons outside of pistols. I mean, the one boss I fought had a shotgun, but a pistol is like not at all effective in this game at all. You know, it's way better to pick up a bench to hit zombies, a bowling ball, a can of paint, as opposed to using a weapon. So, like, by design, I think that's intentional.
Yes, 100%.
And
yeah,
it is very satisfying. Just running around. Even look, I don't know what the trade-off is for not doing the quest or missions. Like, maybe it's a fail state. Maybe you just leave after 3 days and that's that. But if you want to come in and just cause havoc in this game and just level up doing other random shits, like, it's a really big playground. The mall is huge.
It's like a sandbox of sorts that you can just...
What is the biggest mall in South Africa at the moment?
I think it's still Gateway.
Is it I'm sure this place is like a million times bigger than Gateway.
I would not be surprised.
It's humongous. There's just so many different areas. But I mean, it has to be, right? It's a game as well.
Yeah.
But I think
that's ultimately where the series started like straying, because like the second one was still in a mall of sorts. It was more like if I'm not mistaken, like a play on Vegas. So it was a lot of like malls and interconnected casinos.
Yeah.
But then the third one was where it was like, oh, you're like in a wasteland and you're moving between hubs, and it was like, oh, this is very different. Like, it's not the same vibe at all.
Wasn't there Dead Rising 4 as well?
That's when they brought Frank West back, but like, I don't actually know how that one worked. I never played that, so yeah. But I know three had like cool ideas in terms of because I don't think there's weapon crafting in this one.
No. You just pick up weapons.
That was something that added in 2, was like you could combine weapons and they would make other weapons, and there was recipes and stuff. And 3 leaned very hard into that. So there was like ridiculous weapon combinations you could have. I recall one was like you basically built an equivalent to Iron Man's chest laser beam thing. Super fun, but it lost the charm of its setting and its wackiness for a more grounded environment and take. And I think that like goes against what makes this game fun, like you're describing.
It's meant to
ridiculous
be
by nature. Yeah.
It's funny, the one comparison that came to mind in my head is like, imagine it is a Yakuza game with like Resident Evil, where
100%.
It's like aesthetically, there's zombies and there's weapons, whatever, but it's so silly. Like, a lot of the cutscenes, I've not played Yakuza, but I mean, I know like there are wacky sides. It's a super serious gangster game, but it's also not. You know what I mean? It reminds me so much of that.
You've just described exactly why Jeff loves this game. Like, it combines the two things he really enjoys.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. It's got the very loose beat 'em up style of combat as a Yakuza, and doesn't take itself too seriously, but then it's got the trappings of a B-grade horror movie like a Resident Evil. And let's be honest, like, Resident Evil's at its best when it's fully aware that it is a B-grade horror movie. When it tries to be too serious, that's where it's like a bit falling off the wagon. It looks cool. I'm very keen to give it a go, because like you, I never played the first one, but I remember enjoying the second one a bunch, and it seems that this one retains the stuff that it needed to keep it interesting and campy, but fixes, like you said, the quality of life things that today would be very frustrating to deal with. Yeah, very subtractive from the experience as opposed to being like, additive to the vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. And I mean, I think it's doing almost a disservice to this game to call it a remaster. I know it's in the name, but like this is a remake. Like it's in a new engine. It's in the RE engine. They made this from the ground up. It is, I would say, on par with like a Resident Evil remake. Just maybe not as ambitious in changing the gameplay.
Maybe not as big a gameplay change, but visually and quality of life,
it looks good. Yeah, it looks it retain. I think I look at it, I'm like, yes, this is definitely a 360 game, but also it looks
shiny,
way better than a 360 game could ever look. So I think it's hard to strike that balance. So it's cool that they nailed that.
It's a good time.
Cool.
I'm keen to
Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster.
Doctor, if you want to remember that.
Doctor. Oh yeah, it's true. DR. Doctor. So I mean, as people will come to realize, I don't have much to talk about this episode because I haven't been playing much, and then I've been playing stuff that I can't talk about. So this is all Matty all the time.
Me. I'm running the show now.
Yeah, look at me. I am the showrunner.
I don't need you. Well, with a certain expansion coming out in the near future, I have finally decided to dive into Diablo 4.
Only took you like a year and a half.
It took me so long. And I mean, there's a reason for that, right? So I think, I don't know if I've spoken about it on the show, but we got review code for Diablo, like, I don't know, a week or two before I left the country. So it's like, I played an hour. I remember we spoke about it for about an hour last year sometime. Mm-hmm. And you went, I think you had reviewed it, or you went on to whatever, you had played it. I hadn't played it much. And then I moved, and then by the time I got set up, it was Final Fantasy 16 time, and then all the other stuff that followed that last year. And this year I've just been busy with other stuff. And finally I felt like there was enough downtime. And with the is it Vessel of Hatred?
Vessel of Hatred, yeah.
With Vessel of Hatred around the corner, I was like, I love Diablo. Maybe it's time to just quickly jump in. And let me tell you, I don't know why it took me so long to play this game, because it is real good. I played Diablo 3 during its hellish launch period. I still enjoyed it. Like, I acknowledge it had problems. I played the Reaper of Souls expansion a bunch. Grateful for the changes. Played a lot of that. So I love this game. I mean, I even played Diablo Immortal on mobile. I finished that campaign on mobile, did dailies. So there's a formula here that I obviously enjoy and millions of others enjoy. And Diablo 4 is also just full. I'm sure it's on sale now going into the expansion. It's also on Game Pass if you do have...
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass
and I think
now.
the expansion's coming to Game Pass too.
I don't know if it is coming to Game Pass. It hasn't been clear to me.
Let me check. Sorry, you can carry on.
No, because I have wondered. I mean, that would be a huge win, I think, for Microsoft to be like, hey, Diablo 4's expansion is on Game Pass if you want to play it there.
It will not be coming to Game Pass at launch.
I thought it wouldn't, because to me, from a business point of view, it makes sense as a Microsoft to get Diablo 4 on Game Pass, get people hooked, and then get money by getting
purchase the expansion,
buying the expansion. But I can tell you, I don't know what the expansion will hold, but the base game a year on, look, you would know better than me because you played during launch, but I think Diablo 4 was very good state. I haven't hit endgame yet. I think I'm level 40, so I'm getting there. I've put in like 8 to 10 hours, and playing Rogue, just enjoying the that classic formula of you push a whole lot of buttons, things explode, gold drops, you level up, you keep doing it.
So you're playing on console?
I'm playing on console, and I'm playing on both actually. So I can, in the year 2024, cross progression is a thing. Can you believe it?
Yeah, you can hop between them.
It's wild to think that this just wasn't a normal feature like 3 to 5 years ago.
Yeah, not even that long ago. Yeah,
it's because I mean we had the review copy, right, that we got last year. So I downloaded that on PS5. I've had it on my PlayStation for months now, and I launched it. Diablo 4 came to Game Pass, and I was like, huh. Like, I've always played it on PC. Let me just download it on PC. Pair my accounts, everything. There's my character I made last year. I was like, oh, okay. So I can just bounce between the two. And I have. There's been times where I'm chilling on the couch going, yeah, I'm going to play it all. There's other times I've been playing games with friends on PC and then they bounce off and I'm like, well, let me just do a bit of Diablo right here. And let me tell you, controller is a really fun way to play this game. It actually works.
Yeah, I think it works super well on controller.
On controller, and you wouldn't think it does, but it works very well on controller. Is PC the better way to play? Like, maybe maybe it's a little bit easier to like go through your inventory and stuff, but controller, it's just everything's assigned to a good key, and it just feels good. Doing all your abilities and running around. But yeah,
I definitely think they've struck a middle ground where Diablo 3 was so very obviously made for consoles. Down to its simplification of leveling and builds and the control scheme around that. I think Diablo 4 definitely goes back to more. It is to me a very good balance between 2 and 3,
100%.
where it has the depth of builds that 2 had to an extent, but also it's way easier to navigate and easier to understand. As opposed to 2, which I played the Diablo 2 remaster when it came out, or what was it called, Resurrect or whatever.
Yeah.
And even with that, it's like, if you do not follow specific builds to the T, you will just the game will be completely unforgiving on you. Yeah. You will just not be able to progress.
Remind me, Diablo.
And I think 4 strikes a good balance of not needing to do that often.
Diablo 2, you could obviously choose your abilities, but you'd have to assign your stats as well.
Yeah, you could completely hard lock yourself out of progressing in that game.
Which is interesting because I remember playing Diablo 3 and being very disappointed that I couldn't do that. And I think it pissed off a lot of people that it's like, well, your build variation comes into like just figuring out which abilities work well together. And you're right, 4 is a good balance of the two where you're not exactly assigning stat points or anything, but you have like a branching skill tree. But it's also been modernized in that you're not hard locked into a build. You can refund abilities and then reassign them elsewhere if you want to for a cost. But even that cost, I don't know, late game, but it's not breaking my bank account.
No, it never really gets too expensive. I think the idea is for you to experiment with 100%.
Builds. I get a legendary drop. It's like, it does this and this with this ability. I'm like, I haven't even used that ability. Let me just respec to try it. I'm like, okay, cool. And there's a lot of that, just experimenting. And I know when it gets to, the late or post game, that's when I go, okay, cool. Like I like this build. This is kind of what I'm going to stick with. But until then, I'm just enjoying experimenting with, I obviously have my own build in mind, but when I get an item that forces me to, well, not forces me, but incentivizes the use of an ability that I haven't used, I'm like, well, I can try it. It takes me 2 seconds to respec on my skill tree. So that's very cool.
And I think they've done some smart things around that as well, where it's like, I don't know if you've messed around with aspects of power much yet, but they're essentially like abilities that are they're weapon upgrades that are tied to specific build abilities, but they allow you to imbue any weapon with that like skill. So like you can be like, I really like this legendary weapon or whatever, but I'm missing the sort of passive it helps with my current build. Like if you have that aspect, then you can just combine the two and kind of have the best of both worlds. And aspects are something you unlock and you have forever. So now any weapon you have, you just pay a fee and you can pop that aspect onto there. Like they will never beat a full on, perfect legendary drop or something, but it does give you some flexibility with like, especially late game stuff. There's smart things like that I think Diablo 4 does extremely well. And I think you're playing at a time where they've really honed in on, the sorts of things that people really like. I think at launch it was good. It's definitely better now. But I think they also went through a pretty painful period where they were trying to figure out like what the correct balance was for loot, what the correct balance was for like scaling of power. And, a lot of those big changes they're there already, but they're coming through with the patch that is coming out with the expansion, which will, be free whether you get the expansion or not. And the idea there is to like squash power levels. So like numbers are smaller. Your level cap is now 60 as opposed to, I think it's currently 100. And your leveling is, supposedly a lot quicker. I mean, it's quicker now than it was at launch, but
I found it pretty quick.
The patch is meant to accelerate it even further. Their goal is to try and get you into the end game. Like they want you there as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Which I think is smart, because when I enjoyed this game when it first came out, when I reviewed it, but I did feel like I had to play the full campaign and even, do a lot of side quests to even touch the level cap. And even then it was like, cool, I got to the end game and I still had to grind a bit to even unlock some of the end game stuff. I think now that's no longer a thing. You get to the end of the campaign and you can just go.
Is there a level cap on the campaign itself?
So, okay, this is where I'm trying to like discern what's actually in there and what's not in there, because I haven't played in a while. Do they have like not world tiers? Are areas in the game still denoted by a level?
They are, but it's interesting because. So I'll tell you why I'm asking, because I spent a lot of time in Act 1 just like absolutely dicking around, running around the map, doing everything I saw basically. Like if there's a dungeon or a world event, whatever, I was there doing it. And I think I was like level 25 or 30 before I'd even finished Act 1. So I was like, shit, like I wonder if I'm going to reach level 50 or 60 and then it's going to hard lock me until I roll credits on the campaign. So you don't have to give me an answer. I was just more wondering if you knew off the top of your head, if like, will I be able to get to level 100, whatever the cap is in Act 3, for example, or is it like, will you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you will. I mean, I had the reverse problem when I was reviewing it where...
like I can't level fast enough.
It literally, yeah, because I'm trying to, not rush, but I'm trying to play this at a brisk pace, and the game is demanding you to be certain levels to be in certain areas, because it's like, well, enemies here are level 60 or level 70 or whatever, and it's like you will just get absolutely wrecked if you walk into here and you're not even close to that. So that's something the new patch addresses as well. It's like they've done away with that completely. It's now enemies will scale to your level.
Yeah.
So as you do the campaign and walk around the map, like you will still be presented with a challenge, and you can increase that challenge by increasing your difficulty levels, but it will no longer be like this area is specifically for level 80 players. And again, I think that goes down to like not slowing you down during the campaign, letting you experience that to get to the end game. That's the important bit. So yeah, it's cool changes like that. And even then, like what you're talking about sounds fundamentally different to what I played, especially when it comes to loot. So, it's Diablo is a live service game now. That's what they are.
Yeah.
And they reward people. I mean, Diablo 3 was that as well. It's just we didn't have that name for it then.
Yeah.
They went on for years and years doing Paragon seasons and, altering how you could do that and stuff. And I think Diablo 4's got a long time ahead of it to do the same. It's generated a shit ton of money for Activision Blizzard. So it's just also cool that it is, I think, a good game.
Yeah, it's a good game, and it's interesting. Oh, it's one of those things where the reality is it does just get better with time. I think I take my hats off to people who make games like this, because I can't imagine the nightmare of balancing it. Because it is like, you've got so many classes, so many abilities, so many enemies, and it's like, how do you strike a balance of, making the player feel strong, but, not making it a breeze to play through? And then how do you ensure that you're giving them just enough reward for the effort? Like how many legendaries do you drop, X, Y, Z? It must be such a nightmare trying to tweak.
It's a fine balance, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, and the same happened with Diablo 3, where that game launched, and I mean, it was riddled with errors and launch, don't get me wrong, and there were things that were frustrating about it, but that game, when Reaper of Souls landed, that was just like a year or two later, it just fixed so much that was wrong with that game. And that was like, whoa, okay, Diablo 3 is really, really good now. And like I think Diablo 4 is definitely in a better state than Diablo 3 was at launch. But it's quite cool to think that the expansion's coming, and they've obviously, like you said, they've got all these things planned, for free, regardless of whether you're buying the expansion or not. And I'm quite keen to see, like, I'm really enjoying it. I can't imagine what it must feel like to be, somebody who's played day one, you're seeing all these things change, making the game better and better. And you're right, it's going to be around for, it's like, Diablo 4 is like a year old now, just over a year.
I think it came out like early last year, if I'm not mistaken. Well, you said it happened just before you moved, so it must have been like May, April-ish, yeah.
This game's going to be around for so many years before we even dream of Diablo 5.
Yeah. No. This is like, I mean, Diablo 3 came out, 2012?
Yeah, a lifetime
2011,
ago.
around about there, yeah. It's going to have a super long tooth, and I think, I think it's in a good place now, so... that doesn't mean it can only get better. Like, there will be seasons, I'm sure, where they go, that didn't work. And I think that's already happened in this first year. But I think they're very willing to, take losses on the chin and move forward. And I've seen a lot of positive sentiment on this current season, and a lot of positive, feelings towards the changes that are coming.
Yeah.
So... I hope it works out, but yeah, I wanted to ask, what are you thinking of the story, by the way? Just very quickly.
I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's still early days, but it's quite interesting.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's not like, the big man himself, Diablo, and it's Lilith, and it's still, I'm still trying to understand what her big plan is, because she's obviously going around causing chaos in Sanctuary, but I don't know what the end goal is yet. But it's very good, very dark stuff that happens. I'm like, whoa, this game is pretty dark, but I'm enjoying it.
What I really liked about the story, and I think you'll get more of this as you go, is that Lilith is a really, really good antagonist because she's not Diablo.
Yeah,
Diablo is very one note. He is, I am big evil. Bad, big evil. And you can tell from the beginning, Lilith is not that. Like, she is doing things for a purpose, and there is this very gray area that the game operates in, where it's like, oh yeah, this is a battle for like heaven and hell that's playing out on Earth. But, Anarius, the big angel you get to deal with in this one, he's not really a great dude.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
And like the sort of church he's like leading here, not great people.
Yeah.
So the idea of Lilith coming in and being like, yeah, this is pretty fucked up what's happening on Earth here. Also, I got royally fucked by Anarius and the angels. You like, I don't think you ever go to the point where it's like, cool, I'm going to side with you and join you. But it's like, she's way more complex than just the prime evils were in the previous games. And I like that a lot. I really enjoyed her character, and I think it makes for probably the best Diablo story out there. So I'm really curious to see how the expansion builds on that.
Yeah, same. Well, I still need to roll credits, but
it's good. It ends very well, I think. It's really, really fun.
Nice.
Cool. How good is a good old I forget his name now, but the voice of Lorath?
Rolf
Innes?
Somewhere. I knew.
It's funny because I played this before Final Fantasy 16 came out. So when Sid started talking, I'm like, damn, I know that man. Such a good voice.
I had it other way around where I was like, damn, is what's his name in Diablo 4? I can't remember now.
Lorath.
Lorath. I'm like, I know that voice. It sounds just like Sid. I looked at it, I was like, of course.
It's such a distinctive voice, so raspy and deep, and he really matches Lorath here as well. It's just very angry old man vibes.
Yeah. Great voice actor.
He's no Deckard Cain, but
No, I was like, R.I.P. Deckard Cain. Like, will there ever be mention of him in this game?
Oh no. It's kind of odd though as well. There's a very big separation from this game, and I think the previous. They're just like, this is a clean slate sort of thing.
Yeah, I need to do some reading, but I'd love to get an understanding of how far apart the games all take. Diablo 1 is this year, Diablo 2 is 30 years later? Like, what is the time jump between all of them?
Yeah,
so I
because
don't
from 1
actually
to 3,
know.
there's a very distinct timeline.
Yeah.
This one feels like, because Diablo 3 was quite a definitive, like, you have fucked up Diablo for the 3rd time now. He's kind of done. And that's why he's kind of not appearing in this one at all. And again, I respect that, because I think it would be very easy to be like, ho, Diablo was actually pulling the strings in the background the whole time.
He's
like,
Lilith the whole time. It would be funny
thank
if
God they don't do that.
Yeah, but they also can't get his name out of the title now. Wouldn't be the same.
I mean,
if they
true.
called it
Yeah.
Lilith.
Wouldn't be Lilith 4 or Mephisto
Lilith
5.
1.
Or... Yeah. Lilith 1.
Mephisto 1. So just how the sequels go now. And then Diablo 5 comes out like, ho, the joke's on you. He was pulling the strings the whole time. Yeah. No,
I think that's why Reap of Souls ruled as well. It was a whole new antagonist. It was, again, in a grey area. It was like a fallen angel. They're learning.
Yeah. 4 games at
good
the time.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Diablo 4. Vessel of Hatred is out, like October
10
sometime?
October, I think.
I think it's 8th or something.
Pretty soon.
Vessel of
Pretty
Hatred.
soon, and that will come with a new class. The
Spiritborn. Spiritborn, which is billed as like a sort of very dexterous and fast-paced melee person with access to like the spirit realm.
Nice.
Sounds cool. I kind of like the new classes that they add in every expansion. Like Diablo 3 Reap of Souls had the Crusader, I think.
Crusader was fun.
And that was like a non-traditional class for that game. And I think the Spiritborn will be somewhat similar. 8th of October, so soonish.
Okay. Damn, I gotta roll credits in that bad boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just very quickly, last game, other game I've been playing and have rolled credits on and have platinumed.
Sure.
Astro
Wormy
Bot.
Passage. I love that game.
Astro Bot. I am so, and I get it, but I cannot wait. I was going to say, I'm so disappointed you haven't played this game, but I can't be disappointed.
You've played it a little bit. I'm getting there. Getting there.
Let me just take
a
sip of my juice.
Listen, the little bits I've played, I 100% agree with what you said in the last episode. It is charming. It is joy in a little package. It's bite-sized, so it's really palatable. I even had Shani come over and watch for a bit. She's like, "This looked cool," and I'm like, "Yes, you should play this."
It's great.
So yeah.
What I think has surprised many people though is that we spoke about this at length in our last episode, how many people played Astro's Playroom bundled to PS5 and surprised by how good it was. Like, damn. Imagine this was a fully fledged game, and Astro Bot is that. And I think when it was announced, we all joked like, the 2024's Game of the Year is finally launching, whatever. I mean, I joked thinking like, yeah, but I know I enjoy it, but will it be that good? And let me tell you,
this can't come against Rebirth. Never.
I can tell you, this game will 100% be up there with like the Game of the Year. It was the other Game of the Year contenders, and it'll be in those conversations. And I think rightfully so. I've seen a lot of discourse on like, oh yes, okay, but also Astro Bot's just copying Mario with some of these ideas, and like maybe, I don't know, but in terms of the execution and how it is just a well designed, well crafted Sony product, I'm like, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. It took me about 14 hours to platinum it. I know that they've announced there are new speedrun levels and stuff coming, and yes. I will be there. I will play more of this game with pleasure. I
feel like that's going to consume you, knowing how competitive you are. The idea of speedrunning these levels.
Astro's Playroom had 1 or 2 DLC drops, and I was surprised. I was like, did I play these? And I was like, oh yeah, I did. But I think that was a lot smaller in scale, like 1 or 2 extra levels, whatever it was. Because I mean, the original game was super short anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll gladly take any excuse to go back to this joyous world, filled with so much PlayStation marketing. Just
yeah,
you gotta. I think having rolled credits now, the amount of characters and little Easter eggs and stuff they've put into this game are it's pretty staggering. Like there are characters that I've rescued and I've gone, why does this look so familiar? And I'm like, oh, hold on, this is that one obscure PS1 game I played as a kid. Like I forgot I played that, right in the nostalgia. But yeah, even just in terms of the platforming and the design, it's just so well polished. And I think if you're a PlayStation owner, like it's a no-brainer. You have to play this. If you've got any sort of love for the PlayStation brand, whether you've been there from PS1 or PS4, you've just started on the PS5, like there's a lot of love in this game, and it's so fun. It really is. I think Umar gave me the best analogy, or the best sort of barometer for how good a game is, because he said, a game's good when it makes you like a goofy grin the whole time.
Yes.
I was like, that is so true. And let me tell you, most of this game is just joy. It really is just you going, wow, I can't believe they've done this, or I can't believe they've included this character or whatever. I mean, if you're watching the video right now, I've just rescued my boy John.
I'm having a good time reading these descriptions, because they don't outright say like this character's from here, but like you rescued Ellie, and it was like her description was immune survivor, aspires to be an astronaut, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
And Joel's one is like, what? Something, a skilled smuggler, and then says occasionally tells the white lie. It's like, Jesus, okay.
No, but it's funny because, look, if you've never played any of these games, like those little Easter eggs over your head, but if you've played them, you go like, oh, like it's just, it's so good.
So good.
So cheeky. Yeah.
But I think because there's been some, I'm not going to say lots, because I don't think it's been the overwhelming majority of the discourse, but there's like this idea that this fetishizes sort of like the PlayStation brand as a whole in a way that Mario doesn't. Like Mario itself is its own thing. It isn't there to market the Nintendo console. It 100% is, but not in a way. It's not like self-aware that it's on a Nintendo console, whereas Astro definitely is.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's like you said. I think you can play Astro's Playroom without any reverence for that, and I think a lot of people are, because they are much younger, PlayStation consumers, so they don't know a lot of these things. And I don't think that detracts from the game. I don't think it requires that sense of nostalgia to work. It is just a good ass platformer, irrespective of that, and that's what it needs to be. So I get where it's like, yes, a lot of this comes down to your nostalgia for these old PlayStation games and these little Easter eggs, but that's not why this game is good.
Oh no, not
only,
at all.
No.
Yeah. It definitely stands as its own good platformer. And even that sort of conversation of like, oh, it's just a marketing stunt for Sony. I'm like, so what? If
that is literally every game on the market today.
But if the new Mario game, for in some alternate reality where it's a Mario game where he's busy saving the Switch, or like, no one would care. No one would go like, oh, like Mario's so self-aware. Like, I can't believe they've done this. So why is it a problem when Sony does it? Like they've got 30 years of all these properties and this history. I think it's very smart to lean into it, because for people like me, it leans into the nostalgia and makes me love the game even more. I'd be thrilled if Nintendo did a similar thing. I mean, I think Super Smash Brothers is like their version of that, right? Where there's a lot of Easter eggs, different characters, whatever. But if they made a Mario game where it was him, I don't know, diving into Nintendo's history, like, tell me you wouldn't love that. There'd be lots of cool Easter eggs, moments that older gamers like you and I would appreciate.
No, I agree.
I don't get why that's like how that's meant to be like a criticism against this game. I'm like, so what? From a marketing
and I think you're right. Like,
view,
Smash is that for Nintendo.
100%.
Like, people forget that it is a love letter to not only Nintendo properties, but all the properties that were part of Nintendo's identity back in the day. So yeah, it's 100. I mean, also remember when you played Breath of the Wild and Link immediately pulled out something that looked like the Switch?
100%.
They do that shit. It's not as overt, but they do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how things are, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
I do wonder now. The only thing is, like, what does another Astro do? Because I think if you do another one, you're like, cool, we've got all these Easter eggs again. It's like, oh, okay, this is getting a bit,
so
can't do that again.
I've had the same thoughts of like, because Astro's Playroom was like very bite-sized, cool. To make it on a bigger scale made sense, right? Because even that had just a few cameos, whatever. Now it is, well, what do they do with the sequel? Is it a PlayStation 6 launch title? And what, like, you're right, they can't just go like, oh, here's all these Easter eggs again. They're going to have to do something different there. Maybe they won't make an Astro Bot sequel for a long time. Like, I don't know.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Maybe they put it to bed, or maybe they do. I guess we'll see. But all I can say is from a marketing point of view, like, having it have this much branding and stuff, like, it's genius. Like, I find it so clever that your spaceship is a PlayStation 5 and the small ship you use to get around levels is a PlayStation 5 controller. I mean, like, why not? Why is that a criticism? I don't understand.
Yeah. Especially when the Astro Bot brand, it's not like this came out of nowhere and, was doing this with the PlayStation branding and the hardware. Like, Astro Bot started its life as a tech demo. And so people associate it with, even if you never played them, that is what the association is for a lot of people. And so it just leaning further into that, I don't think is disingenuous and feeling like it's just marketing the hardware. It always was that. So just let it continue being that.
Yeah.
And like we say it all the time that these games have been the best uses of the PlayStation hardware. So why wouldn't they lean into that very, theme if they are in fact delivering on that as well? And I do believe that. I think Playroom and now Astro Bot, like, they use the DualSense in a way that pretty much every other game doesn't. And I appreciate them for existing because it gives purpose to the DualSense. So I mean, let them lean into it. I don't find it off-putting and I don't find it distracting. I can understand why some people would, but I don't think that's to the detriment of a very, very good platformer either way.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, so last thing I'll say, I'll remember playing Astro's Playroom, and the little double jump laser thing.
Yes, his little feet jetpacks.
I thought it felt weird because it was different. Because it's not like a traditional double jump, but it's weird how
it's like a hover.
Yeah, but by the time I got to the end of this game, I didn't mention this game has some very difficult challenge levels, completely optional.
I've heard, yes.
But that little hover move, I'm like, look, it's probably been done in other games. If it has been, I don't know. But I was like, that is a nice little extra, like a specific Astro touch for platforming. Just the fact that you can like place your jumps better, whatever. I'm like, I take my hats off to them. Like, it feels good. I love the way this platformer feels. So, yeah, it's a good time. Like, I
think the fact that it doubles as an attack is also interesting. I think it's just a cool way to interpret like platforming as an offensive move as well.
Yeah.
In the same way that Mario's jumps are the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
And last thing I'll correct, when we spoke about this last time, I said, I don't know, maybe some of the bosses are a bit challenging for people who don't traditionally play platforms because it's a one-hit kill. I'm wrong. You'll see behind my little character, there's 2 little hearts, so you can take a bit of damage. Only in boss fights, though. Otherwise, it is you get hit, you die. But I think that's like
quite smart, I think. Yeah, that is smart. Because you don't want to get to like a certain phase of a boss and then you die. You know, that's just frustrating and
so annoying,
at odds with the rest of the game, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
But
Astro Bot. It's good.
Game. Real good.
I've forgotten if there's something else you're planning to talk about.
No. That is it.
Is that it? Okay.
We're done. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of updating and a lot of, Dead Rising new, Astro Bot sort of new, Diablo not so new.
Gonna be new again.
But yeah, I mean, I have a lot to chat about the next time we will have an episode, because I think by then I would have finished Outlaws. I would have finished embargoed games for sure. And, hopefully both of us would have played the new Zelda, which is out now, but neither of us have really put time into it yet.
No.
I'm very keen to get my hands on that because the reviews were good, like I expected, but It was, I think a week ago, they did an interview with the developers, and the developers were like, yeah, this started out as a Legend of Zelda maker akin to Super Mario Maker,
Yeah.
which makes like 100% sense with these sort of mechanics they have going on there. But that just, I was like, okay, cool. I really want to see what this is now, because this is more a like invent your way to a solution than anything else. So I'm very keen to give that a go.
You and me both. Soon.
Cool. And more traditional Zelda as well, with traditional dungeons. So I haven't played one of those in a long time, so I'm very keen to jump back into that. Because I never finished Tears of the Kingdom. I enjoy that game a whole bunch. It is a lot, and maybe I'll dive back in and finish it someday, but I was pretty content with what I played, and I'm like, you know what, I can move on from this.
Yeah. I think you played like 50 or 60 hours, which is still...
yeah, I played quite a bit. Like I think I did
reasonable.
2 or 3 temples. yeah. I mean, and it's not like I threw it away and I was like, "Fuck this game, I hate it." I was just like, I'm content now. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to let go of the idea that I need to finish every game I start, and there is this idea of I can have as much enjoyment as I want with the game and not feel bad for not finishing it. Like I don't think that means it's a bad game.
No.
And I'm still figuring that out. But that's why I want to finish games that I enjoy, like Star Wars Outlaws, and not finish games that I'm not enjoying, like Final Fantasy Rebirth. I don't know. I haven't. I will finish that. I have to finish that. But Jesus, it's just not the thing that is like pulling me.
Yeah, for sure. No, I get that.
Yeah. No. But yeah, that has been what 257, correct?
257.
257. Look at that. That's the London weather. It's getting to Matty. He's ready to snuggle up in bed and hibernate for the next 3 months. That's what all Londoners do.
It's getting a little bit chilly outside.
Leave. Sure. What did you say? 5 degrees currently?
At the moment. Okay, wait. It was 5 degrees when we started. At the moment, it is... Please hold. It is 6 degrees. Things are really starting to heat up inside. You know.
I think I said last week we had a dreadful cold snap here in Johannesburg. I'm sure you saw some of the news. Like people got stuck on highways because of snow. Like 2 people died. It was hectic.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. It was rough. It was not something to joke about. It was probably the coldest day of the year, and it was in September. But even then, our minimum was 5. So you aren't even in the throes of winter yet. No. And I recall visiting you last year, and it was fucking cold. It was not fun. But
chilly.
So you enjoy that. Just remember, you chose this.
I chose this life.
That's been episode 257 of Checkpoint Chat. You also chose to listen all this way to the end of the podcast, and for that, we thank you. We appreciate you. And we'll be back very, very soon, I would say in the next week or so.
Yeah.
So, until then, stay safe. Love you lots.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.